Hi, I'm Zach from SparkPlugs.com. Today we'll be installing brand new KYB shocks available at SparkPlugs.com on an '89 Honda Accord. As you can see behind me, I've got my tools ready. What you'll be needing is a jack stands, spring compressors, and a good assortment of hand tools. We've already got the wheel off. Now the first thing you'll want to do is disconnect the torsion bar. For that you'll need two 12mm wrenches. One on the bottom and one on the top. Go ahead and loosen that. Once you get the nut off, just disconnect the torsion bar. Next you'll want to disconnect the brake line from the strut in two places. There's a bolt right here and a bolt right here. Two 12mm bolts. Now for this next step, make sure that you've got a jack underneath your lower control arm, because when we do this, the whole suspension is going to drop out. You want to take and loosen this pinch bolt here, and when you do that and pull it out, your suspension is going to drop out on you like that. Now the next bolt you want to take is the very bottom bolt here on this fork. It's a 17mm bolt, goes all the way through both sides of the fork. You got to get two wrenches on it, one from the right, one from the left, and go ahead and loosen. I've already pre-loosened. Take that nut off. Pull that bolt through. There you go. Now you're ready to go to the next step. Now come on up into the engine compartment and loosen these three 14mm nuts. And pull them off. Now you should very easily be able to separate the strut and the strut fork from each other. Now that you've got your strut out, go ahead and put your spring compressors on there, just like that. And hopefully you got a nice heavy-duty vise at home. If you don't, hopefully you got some friends that are willing to help you and hold this thing while you wrench on it. So go ahead and place it in the vise. You don't want to tighten this too hard. You want just enough so that it'll hold the spring in place while you torque on it. Oh, I got it in the wrong way. Now start wrenching. Now that you got your spring compressed, you want to take an Allen wrench and a 14mm wrench. Stick the wrench on there, other way, and loosen this top bolt. The reason you got the Allen wrench really is just to hold the strut in place. Pull the nut off. Now it's time for out with the old and in with the new. One thing you'll notice when comparing the old strut to the new strut is that if you push them down, the old one goes down a lot quicker than the new one, so you can tell. Now we'll put the new strut back in the spring. One thing to note is that there is a left and a right strut up front, and that can be figured out just by comparing the old one to the new one. One other very important thing is, if you'll notice at the base of this strut, it pops up just like that. And the reason for this is because when you put it in here, you'll notice that the spring ends here, so it's important to meet this up with this. Now we'll just put our bushing back on. Now would be a good time to change out the bushing if it's old and worn, but we're just going to go ahead and keep this one. Put that back on. Put your washer on. Thread your nut on. And tighten everything back up. Now once everything is tight, you can release your spring compressors and you're ready to put the strut back in place. Don't forget, you'll need to put this little beveled piece and washer onto the strut shaft before you put the strut together. Now would be a great time to replace the lower control arm bushing, which is located right here. We've got our strut back in place. The one thing that you want to watch out for is to make sure that this fork is seated up against this little metal part on the strut. Once you got that done, you can go ahead and tighten up this pinch bolt, and then everything else is pretty simple, just the reverse of the way that you took it apart. Now it's time to go onto the rear. Here we are at the rear wheel. As you can see, I've already got the tire off and got the car up on jack stands. Now, the first thing you want to do is get your suspension compressed with your jack here, and then go ahead and put a spring compressor on the spring, just one. And really all you need to do is tighten it up with your hand, and you'll see why in a second. Now go ahead and let the tension off your suspension. Fall out like that. And again, you just want to go ahead and reposition your jack just enough so you got just a little bit of pressure on your suspension so it doesn't fall out too much. Now, the reason you put the spring compressor on is you're going to have to grab this 17mm bolt, this fork bolt right here. Now, this bolt can be a little bit difficult, especially if there's still a little bit of tension on it. One thing you can do is just get your fingers in here and push on that bolt as you're wrenching on it, and usually it'll come out. And like I said, it can. Now once you got that bolt out, just go ahead and push, and you're ready to go up into the trunk now. Now pop down the back seat, find this little compartment here. Open this up with a Phillips screwdriver. Now you got two 14mm nuts here. Loosen both of those just like you did on the front. And once you do that, strut should just drop right out of the car. So just like last time, we've got our spring compressed and we're pulling everything apart. Again, great time to replace any bushings that need replacing. And again, when you put the new one in, it's important to make sure that this notch is met up with the end of the spring. That's it, we're all done. If you need any of the parts shown in the video, give us a call at 888-800-9629 or look us up at sparkplugs.com. Thanks for watching and have a good day.